Welcome back to Anxious Avoidant Bridging the Gap video series. This is the video number 2 of the series. In this video, we're going to talk about how we can break the anxious avoidant trap. You'll learn how your body reacts when you're triggered. You learn the 5 steps you need to implement should you want to develop a secure attachment style. Let's break the cycle together without breaking each other. Jingle. So the first thing you have to know when you have insecure attachment style is the response, the stress response that you get. So cortisol is the stress hormone, and studies have shown that when you have insecure attachment style, your level of cortisol raises 37% more than if you were secure. And so what you have to understand is we talked about emotional impact in the previous video. It's also the physiological stress. And in a way, your body reacts in a certain way. So if you have an anxious attachment style, your body will track every silence treatment whenever your partner withdraws. What happens when you have chronic stress? You burn out. Burning out is the opposite of bonding. I talked in the previous video about the importance of safety. And it is the same when we are older, always under stress, under alert. Then you won't, by definition, feel safe in the relationship. And when you will find coping mechanism, ways to feel reassured that will actually trigger our partner. So, of course, love shouldn't feel like a crush. And the problem is this loop, this anxious avoidant loop, will slowly, sometimes you don't see it, but slowly and surely deteriorate the relationship. So what I want you to do is to pause the pattern and follow the 5 steps I'm going to explain in the next few slides. So let's start with the body. The theory, the polyvagal theory is, look at it as an internal traffic light. You have 3 lights, green, red, and blue. And I'm going to tell you a personal story about that. The green one, safe and connected, secure. This is what we need to aim for. Red one is fight, flight, is I'm being anxious. I'm stressed, he's disappearing, I don't hear from him or her. And therefore I feel in my body. And it's actually very interesting to reflect on how you feel in your body. So there's an exercise that I will put in the handout of this series, where you have to reflect on the sensation you have in your body. So some people, when they're triggered, a client, I remember she felt like she was about to vomit. Some people, for me, it's really in the belly, in the chest. Some people, it's in the shoulders. So try to understand that physical sensation and learn from it. So in the handout, I explain how you can use this experience to link it with your belief system and sort of the coping mechanism that you developed when you were younger. And basically learn, I called it the secret door, and learn how you can sort of detach and rewire your attachment pattern based on a new secure outlook. So that's the red one. And the blue one is to shut down and to freeze like avoidant. For 25 years, I thought I was always in the green. I know, nothing can affect me. If I have a bad grade, if I break up with a partner, I'll be fine, right? And for many, many years, I thought that's the way it is. I'm strong. And through my studies, studying psychology and learning about attachment, I realized that I was not necessarily secure. I was actually shutting down. I was freezing. I was avoiding things. So that's the thing is, when you're an avoidant, you develop this coping mechanism because it makes you feel safe, right? When you feel, okay, nothing can affect me, this is my shield. This is the way I can protect myself from the danger of the world. And the danger is also sometimes the relationship. So it's important to, the methodology will be different when you're anxious or when you're avoidant. When you're avoidant, you need to activate your attachment, be connected with your emotions. So there's a lot of work on labeling the emotions, because it's very hard when you have an avoidant attachment style to be aware of your emotions and to embrace those emotions. For anxious, it's the other way around. It's about detaching, not being driven by the emotions, not acting upon negative emotions, just using those emotions as a signal, as a way for you to understand and unpack what's going on. So you don't need words to regulate. It's about awareness. That's what we're doing. Safety and connection. So the first element is you regulate first, then you relate. So again, people, when they start working with me, they have a difficult breakup sometimes, and they want to get back with their ex, which is totally fine with me. And so they will focus their attention on, okay, how can I connect? Give me the shortcut, give me the roadmap. And they fail to recognize that, hold on, first of all, start with you. Start with the green, red, and blue traffic light, because the process of getting back with the next, the process of repairing a relationship is stressful. And the same way we discussed about the spike in cortisol level, there's no study based on the breakup, but I can guarantee that it's way more than 37%, because you have expectations. Because after a breakup, if you're anxious and you're dating someone avoidant, that person will avoid a little bit more than before. So you have to be prepared, and the best way to be prepared to have the right foundation in terms of emotional regulation tool. So that's the first element, the first thing you need to do. So what you have to do is to see the pattern, name this loop. When you see a new name, you detach yourself from the situation. That's why therapy is super helpful, and that's why it's easier for me to help you, because I can have a bird's eye view on your situation. That's what therapists can provide, is like looking and zooming out on the situation. Right now, you're in that pursuer withdrawer dynamic. And it's very similar to the demon dialogues that Sue Johnson describes in her book. Find the bad guy, protest polka, freeze flee. I don't want to spend hours on this. I'll put some content and some details on that in the handout. The point here is, from your belief system, you're not attacking. If you have an anxious attachment style, you're reaching, right? You're not pressuring your partner. You're reaching for connection. When you're an avoidant, you're not avoiding. You're just protecting yourself. Okay, again, you have those two narratives that will fight. The point is to understand your role, your responsibility in terms of how you show up in the relationship. And then the other stage is the impact it has on you. Especially if you have an anxious attachment style, is about like, what do you need in your life? What do you need in your relationship to thrive and feel secure and feel safe? What's very surprising is those patterns. They feel like, oh yeah, my situation is unique. And yes, your relationship is unique. But the patterns, the way you function, and that's why attachment theory is so powerful, is very predictable. And that's why when I design my coaching with my clients, it's not that I use a cookie cutting approach. It's based on people's profile and relationship and where they are in the process. But in a way, the methodology, the process is the same, because we know you're anxious or we know we're avoidant, and we know the end goal. So the how to get there, you have different steps depending on where you are. We don't know where we're going to push more and less. So the thing is, this is where you have to feel, in a sense, okay, how can I show up? How can I be my true self? First element, as I said, is to label things. You're in a loop. It feels like a war, but it's a loop. So the point is to reclaim your sense of control. And when you feel in control, trust me, you'll feel more secure. And again, renaming, reframing, working through those patterns. So that's the step number 2. The step number 3 is, once you have this awareness, is to rewire your mind. You know, a little bit like sometimes people refer as our attachment system as operating system. So the thing is, there's a bug in your operating system, something that makes you feel this should be the relationship, this should be attraction. You have to rewrite this code. One way to do that, self-compassion. Studies have shown that when you start to develop self-compassion, you rewire attachment patterns. Self-kindness, mindfulness as well. The point is, especially if you broke up with your partner, don't wait for your partner to give you the closure, the reassurance. It will start with you. That's why most of my work is one-on-one with clients, because I believe it's way, way more efficient to do this work on your own, building that secure base on your own, not in a couple setting. Once you've done the work, Then, that's what I wrote in my book, once you do the work, then you can assess, expose your secure base to your partner and see how they respond, whether they're anxious or avoidant. Something very simple that you can do today is to start talking to yourself like someone you love. Or ask yourself, what would my best friend do or say in this situation? Because sometimes we have the tendency to be quite hard on ourselves, especially if you have an anxious attachment style. And one way to look at it is not, again, it's about, okay, I want to challenge the way I see things and I do things. So if I swap my brain or my mind with someone I know, who I feel is secure, is confident, what would they do? What would they say? And then the more you do this exercise, this mental exercise, the more you'll accept that actually there's another way of looking at things. So that's the other step that you need to do, is to rewire things and reprogram how you do and how you think, basically, whether it's about yourself, about your value, and also relationship. And then it's about small acts that will deliver the big shift. So it could be about breathing exercises that will actually reduce stress automatically. So there's no question about that. The text rule that I like and that I use with my clients is anytime you're about to text someone, your ex or your partner, wait for 20 minutes. Whenever you receive something, wait for 20 minutes. So things settle down. You don't have to act out of an impulse. What we also do with Elizabeth is set up daily alarms with our clients. They set up daily alarms. And on those alarms, you just have a journal entry thinking like, oh, how do I feel? And really tracking down your mood this way is very helpful. The point is there's so many tools, and I will put some of those tools in the workbook again. Test, try, and pick one that you like and do it for 30 days. Because once you have this habit, you'll start again showing your body, showing your mind that another thing is possible. So in neuroscience, we say the neurons wire together, fire together. So the point is that the more you do this, you create neural pathways by overwriting the old patterns and creating new ones. So it's important to do it over a long period of time and be regular, on a regular basis, almost on a daily basis, because that's how you create new habits. That's how you create the new neural pathways. And that's why it's not about big gestures. It's also about something that you can do, that you enjoy doing. So if you start something and you feel like it's too difficult, I don't relate, chances is you're not going to sustain this effort. So find just one, and it has to be simple, it has to be easy, that you can implement in your daily practice. And the last one is support. The last one is, we are social animals. Find the right support along the way to embed all those things. It gives you a form of accountability, a sense of progress, fulfillment and connection, because you feel alive, you feel connected, you feel part of a group, or you feel just heard. The point is, when it's about seeking help, that doesn't mean that you're weak. That doesn't mean it's a shortcut. It's a way for you to maximize your chances. For instance, when I struggled with my relationship, I tried for a few years to do it on my own, reading books, and I love personal development books, but I couldn't really find ways to make progress because I'm not so good at doing things on my own. I need someone to be with me. It's not so much about hand-holding, but it's giving me that sense of progress and accountability. So in recap, in order for you to break the anxious avoidant pattern, see the pattern, listen to your body, rewire your mind, small acts of kindness, and all of that is supported by your support, whether it's a therapist, whether it's friends, whether it's community. The three is perfect, it's ideal, but it doesn't have to be the three of them. I will see you next time for the part 3 of this series. Take care.